Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to the Mary and Jerry podcast. This is Jerry, the grouchy historian.
And I'm Mary. I'm not grouchy nor a
historian. Okay, so this is it. This is the introduction. This is our very first podcast. We have like a whole lot of equipment here. I think we could control the space shuttle from this.
I think so. It makes me a little nervous. Are you excited?
I am, because I like lots of blinking lights and knobs to play with. So, you know.
Well, says the former naval aviator.
That's right.
Are you getting ready to drop some sonar buoys somewhere?
I could with this particular soundboard. So here we are. This is it. We're taking the podcast. We're doing the plunge into the podcast world.
We're taking the podcast. It's called taking the plunge into the podcast.
Yeah,
I thought I was the dyslexic.
No, that's what I meant. Okay. So here we are.
Why are we doing this, Jerry?
Here's our first podcast. Well, why are we doing this?
You've said it's our first podcast 3 times.
Because this is what the people asked for. They wanted a podcast. They want to hear the real.
Who are the people, Jerry?
The people. All the people. Your people, my people, the people.
Where do we find these people?
Mostly on Instagram. When you go out and give talks. When we're standing by the frozen food in the Wegmans.
Oh, yes, that did happen. Or by the blueberries.
Right. I mean, it is a little disconcerting when you're standing there getting the blueberries in the Wegmans and they go, "Are you the grouchy historian?" And I go, "That depends."
You were so proud. That was such a proud moment for you. It's only happened once.
Yeah,
and yet
I know.
Every time we're with people, you have to tell them that it happened because
I know.
it is such a pivotal moment in your life.
It is a pivotal moment in my life because I'm used to more like, "Oh, look, it's Mary Lenaburg. Yay.
That's so
we
not
love
true.
you."
That's not true.
Oh, yes, it is.
No.
I've never seen someone that had college groupies. You had college groupies when we went to Steubenville.
Oh, for work camp?
Yes.
Or no, not work camp. For
retreat.
Yeah, for the Steubenville conference.
Steubenville conference. So,
well, my book had just come out, so yes.
Anyway.
Okay, let's tell the people a little bit about ourselves.
Hi, by the way, in case you haven't wondered, no, this is completely unscripted, totally spontaneous, much like a ping pong ball in a dryer in a hurricane. Boom. That's us. That's our life.
Yes. So,
yes,
we have been married today. When you hear this introductory podcast, it is our 35th wedding anniversary.
35 years, 3.5 decades, 7 presidents.
There he goes with the presidents again.
That's right.
Always pointing out historical fact.
So what I do.
People ask us all the time, for marriage advice. I don't know why, because we've pretty much done everything wrong.
As the saying goes, sometimes your life is just lived as an example of what not to do.
Amen. Yeah.
Amen.
So,
Amen.
But that's kind of what sort of fueled the idea of doing a podcast. So we've been married for 35 years, and if you don't think God exists, our marriage is proof that God exists.
And has a sense of humor.
Well, and loves us.
And has a sense of humor.
Yes, he has a sense of humor. Mostly because we tell him what we want and he just chuckles.
Yes, we are a stubborn, stiff-necked people.
Yeah, we're those people that walked in the desert in the same 40-mile circle for 40 years.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, we're probably still walking there. We've got another 5 to go.
Well, we'll see.
Anyway, so who are we? So we met when...
Wait a minute.
Oh.
You got to go back a little bit.
Go back. Oh, okay. So I am...
First...
we were born.
Exactly. The earth cooled. Then we were born. I was raised in a small town in Oklahoma. Yeehaw.
And you are the third.
I'm the baby of the family.
Yeah, you're a baby. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Okay. So, hey, you give me an open door, I will walk through it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you are the baby of the family.
That's right.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing. Jerry Don.
Okay. There are exactly 3 people in the world who call me Jerry Don, and
I am one of them.
4. Fine.
That's correct, because the other 3 are dead.
Coincidence?
I think not.
I think not.
Okay, so you grew up in Collinsville, Oklahoma.
I grew up in Collinsville, Oklahoma. Salute. Population, 3,234 when I was growing up there. And yes, we had 3 stoplights. Kind of annoying. I think they turned 2 of them off.
For a little while. Now they're back on.
Our biggest feature was we were the dairy capital of the world. Yuck, yuck.
The dairy capital of the world.
Well,
when you were growing up there.
Yeah, that's what they said. I'm like, yeah, no. If you ever saw never mind. We'll skip that part for right now. No, we won't. If you ever saw the movie Officer and a Gentleman, one of my excellent movies, is like, Oklahoma's only 2 things come out of Oklahoma, boys. Yeah. Anyway, love that movie. Steers and
other
queers.
Things.
That's right. That's right.
Did you just say that?
That was the line of the movie, Louis Gossett Jr.
Oh, Lord.
He got an Academy Award nomination for that. I think he might have gotten the Academy Award for that. Anyway,
Lord
he was
have mercy.
awesome.
We're stepping into controversy right away.
It's a movie line. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. That was the movie line. Okay, so I grew up in Oklahoma. I grew up in the 70s, and then
you were born. You were literally the last baby boomer. He was born at like 11:58 on December 31st of 1964. So we call him affectionately, the boomer in chief.
That's right.
He calls himself the grouchy historian. We call him the boomer in chief.
So I was born in and yet I'm fine with that. Okay.
I know you are.
So I was raised Lutheran. So more on that story later, my conversion journey from Lutheranism to Roman Catholicism. I think that's like an upcoming podcast.
Kiss the microphone, honey.
Upcoming podcast.
That sounded wrong.
And then off I went. That's right. 40 years ago this year, July 6th of 1983, headed off to the U.S. Naval Academy. And that was the second time I'd ever been on an airplane and the first time I'd ever flown by myself.
Wow. Well, the first time I ever flew by myself, I was 18 and I was going to Oklahoma.
Oh, we'll have to tell
Christmas.
that. We'll have to tell that story later
to
too.
meet your family.
Oh yeah, we'll tell that story later too.
That'll be okay. On a later
so
podcast.
That's right. So that's my upbringing, and we go to the Naval Academy.
And you went. Hold on, you were a trombone player in the band.
Yes.
In the marching band, the Collinsville Cardinals.
Yes.
Okay. You were the salutatorian of your class.
Well, all 156 of us, yes.
Dude, I graduated number 348 out of 364. Okay. I graduated. Praise Jesus. Okay. And then
Did you graduate, or is it more like they wanted to get rid of you?
Hush now. I graduated. I have a picture. I received my diploma.
That's right.
I have proof. Anyway, so you went to the Naval Academy. Okay, so we'll stop there.
Yes.
So I am a number 2 of 8 children. I grew up in Rockville, Maryland, born to Bunny and Joe Green. My mom was born on Easter Sunday, which is why she got the nickname Bunny.
It's a call sign. She got a call sign.
She got a call sign on Easter Sunday, the day she was born. And she made my life a little difficult in high school with the name of Bunny and being one of 8 children. That didn't go over well in the high school stratosphere. I went to Catholic school till I was in the 8th grade. I spent the majority of my middle school years in detention.
No, you didn't. You spent the majority of your middle school years in the pastor's office. You went right by the principal's office.
No, but then he put me in detention. So, loop back around. Anyways, I struggled in school. Jerry did not. I went to high school, kind of found my feet my senior year when I became a color guard flag person. So I hung out with the marching band guys. I dated a trombone player. His name was Jim. He was a nice guy. Anyway.
And then that fateful night.
That fateful night, April 6, 1986.
That's right.
A friend of mine was dating another midshipman, and he had duty that weekend, which meant he couldn't leave campus. And Annapolis was about an hour to an hour and a half from where I grew up. And so Kim was like, hey, let's go down. And, he'll bring 2 friends with him. So Kim and our friend Christy would get in the car. I drove because I'm responsible.
Yeah. Keep that in mind, people. She was the responsible one. Think about that for a moment.
Well, they don't know me. So how would they know I wasn't responsible?
You were responsible, all right.
For a lot of things.
For a lot of things. I believe the word is ringleader.
I wasn't necessarily. Okay, moving on. So we go, and we're expecting that Ray, Kim's boyfriend, has provided 2 dates, just casual, like nobody's getting married. We're just going to spend a couple of hours.
During the mandatory Saturday night dances in Dahlgren Hall back in the 80s.
Which they don't have anymore.
They don't have anymore. When they would bring in women from the local women's colleges, back when they were women's colleges.
And not co-ed.
And not co-ed. And they would have, they called it a mixer, which is like a 8th grade dance, except the midshipmen are much better dressed and, have haircuts and stuff.
True. They have manners.
Yes.
You all have manners. So we show up, and Jerry didn't know he had a blind date that night, apparently. I found this out
phrase,
like 20 years later.
Date, like, I'm what?
Yeah, Ray's like, Jerry, come on over. I need you.
I need a wingman.
So we met, and you were not my blind date. You were for Christy, and Christy is 5 feet tall and Jerry's 6 feet tall. And so they get up and they go dance, and it was a little awkward to watch. I was fine. I was by myself at the table. My blind date didn't show up. So I'm like, whatever. I'm just here so that, Kim and Ray could have
I'm just
some
here
time
being
together.
responsible.
That's right. And taking care of my girlfriends. So this young man comes up to the table. His name was Mark, and he was from South Carolina. And he said, "Ma'am, I would love it if you would honor me with a dance." And I had never been asked to dance like that before. So I stood up. I'm 5'9", and I was in 3-inch heels. 2-inch heels, actually. So, because I was looked at you eye to eye. So this gentleman was like 5'5".
He was happy. He's a happy boy.
Let's just say the alignment was a little off. I was very uncomfortable.
Not from his perspective.
Not for Mark, but for Mary. And so we danced a dance, and you and Christy danced a dance, and then we all came back to the table, and Mark and Christy started chatting, and you and I started chatting, and you were just telling one cow joke after the other, and I was laughing so hard. And then Mark asked your permission because you had danced with Christy. Is it ask Christy, is it okay to dance? And Christy was like, yeah, that's fine. And then he asked you because you were, sort of her date. Is it okay if I take your date on the dance floor? And you're like, yeah, sure, no problem.
And then they disappeared the rest of the night.
Well, no, they were on the dance floor. Let's be clear. Let us not, malign anyone's reputation from 30-something years ago.
I was going to say, it's been a few years. I think we're good.
Anyways, so we were married. The rest is history. We were married 2 years later. I know we'll share more of what happened in our courtship and in our dating life and in our early married life and all, but we got married at the Naval Academy.
Like making out in the confessional. Are we going to talk about that?
Okay, sweetheart. Yeah. We had just gotten married. They told us to wait in this little room while the sword arch was being set up.
Right.
So we go into the little room. I didn't pay attention to where we were. I just knew I had married the love of my life. We were alone for the first time in like 3 days.
And we were legal.
So we started making out. And I came up for breath. I looked over your shoulder, and there was the screen of the confessional.
With a crucifix above it.
And I thought, I am now going to hell. So it was...
It's a good thing I was Lutheran, so you're good. That's my theory. I was Lutheran.
At the time. Anyways, we went on to have... we had 4 children. We had 2 miscarriages. Mm-hmm. And then we had our son, Jonathan, and our daughter, Courtney. You can talk too, this is a podcast that is equal representation.
I'm just waiting for my opportunity.
Oh my gosh, seriously?
To be witty and to interject.
But every time you talk, you're witty.
This is like biographical. Okay, so.
I know we are kind of getting biographical. So we had 2 kids.
And like all things with the Lenaburgs, we do things, we go
big
way. Or we go home. So Jonathan is like a super genius, and Courtney had a seizure disorder and was severely disabled. So we didn't have like a middle child. You have like...
We were the middle child.
You have like super smart on one end and totally disabled on the other. And
it led to a very challenging 22 years while our court was still this side of heaven.
Yeah.
And
we'll talk about
all of that. But
anyways,
and then Courtney passed away in 2014. And then I wrote a book in 2019 about that.
Now, here we go. Here's the first thing if you don't think God has a sense of humor. So the one of us that has dyslexia.
That's me.
And does things to a comma that are unnatural and illegal in the lower 48 states.
Again, me.
Has written 2 books.
Yep.
Yeah.
God. That's it. Jesus saves.
That and a really good editor.
Yes, my husband and Jamie Fox, who was awesome from Ave Maria Press. But
wow.
Yeah, I wrote 2 books. So if you're questioning the existence of God, just come chat with us. We'll tell you how you're wrong. But I wrote 2 books. I started speaking internationally, leading retreats and women's conferences. You became the grouchy historian on Instagram. You were in the Navy for 12 years. We were active duty in the Navy doing
Navy things. I was a naval flight officer, flying P-3s. Then I was Hayes Gray and underway on the USS Enterprise.
Wow.
It's like going camping with 5,000 of your closest friends for 6 months
not.
without fresh vegetables.
Oh, wow. Without fresh vegetables. Okay. You remember that, do you?
Oh, I do. Ate a lot of 3-bean salad in the Navy. It's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we got out of active duty and you went to work for the defense industry.
Yep.
And what do you do now, Jer?
Stuff. Super cool secret squirrel stuff. I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
Okay. And so then I started a blog in 2007 to kind of talk about our life with our daughter, Courtney. It was called Dancing in the Rain. And then it became Passionate Perseverance. And that was during a time where we were going to lose our house. So we did what they call a Friendsgiving campaign, which is pre-GoFundMe.
We did GoFundMe before
GoFundMe was cool.
GoFundMe was a thing, yeah.
In 2007. And
another instance of God showing up
in a huge way through people.
Yep.
And our house, we saved our house. And yeah. What else is going on? And then our son. Go ahead.
Oh, so because God has a sense of humor.
Yeah.
We also have been marriage mentors. We did youth ministry for over a decade.
Yeah, I did it for 14 years and you did it for 11.
We did, we've taught confirmation preparation.
We did that for 6 years.
So if you ever want to see the hand of God show up, it's like when you walk into your very first confirmation preparation class and there are 12
girls,
13-year-old girls sitting there.
And one boy.
And one poor boy who's like, save me.
He always sat up by you.
Yeah. And I'm just like, okay, Lord, this is penance. This is penance for my sins. I get it.
Oh, it was fun though. We had a great time, but we'll talk about that as well.
That's another
What else
topic
can we tell them? So
let's see. What else have we done?
Where are we now?
So we are now
on a podcast.
We are what you would call wise and experienced people.
Are we?
Yes. You know how you get experience?
No, wisdom. What is the definition of wisdom?
You get wisdom from experience. You get experience from poor decisions.
Right. From failure.
Therefore, we are extremely wise.
We are very, very wise.
Very, very wise.
Very wise.
Because
there's not a whole lot we haven't done wrong.
Yeah. I mean, when I go to confession, it's kind of like going through the McDonald's drive-thru. I get my little card with the 10 commandments, and I go to the priest and said, I'll have a number 1 supersized. I'll have 2 number 2s, 3 number 3s, and a number 4. All to go, please.
And I'll have I'll have number 8, and I'll have a number.
But I always get my number 1 supersized because you know what number 1 is?
Taking the Lord's name in vain.
Yeah.
No, that's having another God.
Oh, number 2. Sorry, number 2 supersized. Yes,
that's having I struggle with that.
Convert moment.
We were talking about recently idols in our lives, and so that's I love
Billy.
God above all things. Not Billy Idol. No, you're dating yourself, 80s boy.
80s music.
Anyway, so yeah, we're on a podcast, which is on YouTube, and it's really weird looking yourself in the computer. It's just weird. This is all weird.
Been there, done that.
Got the t-shirt.
So a couple of housekeeping things. So the general format will hopefully be a little bit more organized in the future until we decide not to, and we go down a tangent. Not that we ever do that, of course, because we're like a squirrel on a superhighway. Whoa! A couple of things we want to do is we love interacting with the people.
Yep.
So we're going to have a Google number.
We have
a Google number that you can call in. And do I want to say it? I'll say it. Ask us anything.
Yep, it's going to get us in trouble. Okay, so we have a Google phone number, and that is 571-354-0351. And you can leave us a question. You can leave us a comment. You can, we're going to have this segment. The last part of our show will be what we call a fishbowl moment, Mary versus Jerry, or Jerry versus Mary, whichever one it is. And it'll be kind of like the newlywed game where you sort of ask a question and see what happens and see if the other person, how well they know you. So
you realize that will be totally unpredictable.
I understand.
You may not get the answer you expect.
I never get the answer I expect. I'm married to you. So,
'tis true.
Anyway, so we're going to have that available if you want to give us a fishbowl question, or if you want to ask us a question or give us a topic that you'd like us to discuss here on the podcast. The definition of our podcast is the Mary and Jerry podcast, where we discuss everything and anything. We're going to talk about faith. We're going to talk about brokenness. We're going to talk about family life, marriage, parenting, I don't know, glamping versus camping.
All the things.
All the things. And so we want you to be a part of it. So please do take advantage and leave us a message. We also will have a Patreon. We have a Patreon page.
Yeah, we got to blow the dust off of it. And there's a lot of technology work for the old folks here. Like, you know, we had to learn software. We had to learn soundboard. We had to learn, you know, all the things. And I'm like, we need staff.
We do. So we'd like to take an opportunity to, first of all, thank the 4 women whose fault it is that we're even doing this. So that would be Meg Wells and Cece Brennan from What the Dang Heck podcast, and Bridget O'Boyle.
Okay.
And Kenzie.
From, what is theirs called?
Theirs is called the Unraveled podcast.
Unraveled podcast.
And then we'd like to thank Taylor Schral, who is like our producer and just an awesome human being. Yeah. So thank you guys for getting us to where we are. Mm-hmm. And we're going to try and stay out of trouble, although Jerry doesn't do that well. I mean, you know, you name it, we'll talk about it. So you got to let us know what you want to hear about.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Here we go.
Yep, pretty much. So,
but thanks for being here, guys.
Yeah.
I hope it wasn't too boring as the introduction podcast. We just kind of wanted to give you a little framework.
There's so much to talk about from our life that you can't.
Well, not just our lives, but how others have impacted our lives. And
oh yeah,
we'll have interviews.
We're gonna have interviews because when we get together with some of our
good friends,
it's a party.
It is a party,
and it's tends to sometimes be inappropriate, but we'll see.
It's always inappropriate.
But that's okay.
So welcome everyone to the world of Mary and Jerry. We're so glad you're here. Are we glad they're here, Jer?
Yep, we're glad they're here.
Okay, this is a podcast. You know what that means? You have to talk.
We have to sign off. We have
to
talk.
But you have to actually talk.
I always talk, dear. Oh, that was a hint. We're supposed to talk some more. Yes, we're very glad you're here. I think, I mean, there's a lot of stuff we want to talk about. As my honey lamb says, she's been a speaker for a long time. It's one of the things that has always fascinated me because I go along with her to be the eye candy and arm candy, whatever, and sell books. Is all the people that come up to her afterwards to discuss things. What are you doing?
I'm adjusting your microphone, sweetheart. It's what wives do.
Okay. Don't adjust anything else because we are being recorded.
Oh my God.
Anyway, all the people that come up to her afterwards with questions, I call it the confession line. Mm-hmm. And we have we're going to discuss some of the more common topics over the years because
and questions that
it's always kind of astounded me that no matter where we go, and we've gone all up and down the East Coast, she's gone to Canada, Europe, California.
Yeah.
They all ask the same sorts of things. So we're going to talk a lot, I think, about marriage because y'all, marriage is hard.
Yes.
There, I said it. That was my pronouncement. That was my wisdom today.
It is challenging, but it's beautiful and hard, right? Yeah. So one day it's a love song, the next day it's a rock ballad, and the third day you're in punk rock hell. So, you know.
Wow, that's an interesting musical analogy.
Well,
but okay, we'll roll with that. But we know there's a lot of people out there that are, you know, need encouragement and are facing their own challenges, and hopefully we can give you some of that because we've been through more than the average share of challenges
and what not to do. Wouldn't you say, honey?
Yeah, we'll roll with that.
We'll roll with that. All right, guys.
Okay.
Until next time.
Ba-dum-bum.
I'm Mary.
I'm Jerry.
And we're so glad you're here on the Mary and Jerry podcast.
Ba-dum-bum.